Welcome back, Mr. Goodberry. The First Star Logistics studio is fully equipped and ready to record.
Welcome back to Bengals on the Brain, presented by First Star Logistics. I'm your host, Joe Goodberry, in episode 181, as mandatory minicamp has concluded. We've got some news. The Shemar Stewart thing is still, we got monitoring that one. There's a lot of stories behind the scenes on that thing. But Trey Hendrickson, news that the Bengals are ready to start negotiating again. That's good news. Do I expect something immediately? No, of course not. But we have about 4 to 5 weeks still before training camp hits. I think that's your new goal, your new target point for the Bengals. That's when the clock strikes midnight. So I expect it to be closer to that because that's how the Bengals do things. But it's good news overall that they are ready to pick back up and move this thing along and get Trey Hendrickson extended for the foreseeable future, get him on the field and get the best version of the 2025 Bengals that you can. But we have time. So people have questions, and I'm going to try and answer them as best possible. I put it up on X, on Twitter, at Joe Goodberry. It's time for a mailbag episode of Bengals on the Brain, and your questions came in. We'll start with the first one right here. Dive into about 6 or so. I've got enough probably for Friday as well. You guys got a lot of questions. So if you're watching this episode on Tuesday, and you're like, hey, I've got something that hasn't been covered, you still have time to submit it. Look for the tweet I put out there and give me your question. Diving right in. First question from my guy, SW48. He says he's a bit of a worrywart and he wants to know what are the good storylines? What's the good news from our rookie minicamp, the Bengals mandatory stuff? Like what has happened? Is it the receivers, the depth of receiver, defense, coaching? What is it? I would say it's quite a few things. We haven't gotten to talk about it yet, but I did make appearances on other shows, and so if you follow all of my stuff, you'll see that. But I can reiterate here and bring it up here since we have the opportunity. I think the receiving core looks really good. Clearly, you have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, right? Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki looks more comfortable. Dan Pitcher making comments that they feel like they know who Gesicki is and how to use him better. That's a good thing. Like those being your top three, you're in good shape. They're saying Andre Yoshivash is out there with more confidence than ever. Why wouldn't it? Year 3, this should be your big year for Andre. So that's great. Charlie Jones is actually participating in it and is active and healthy. I still think he can help and make this team, and not just make this team, but make some plays for this team. And then you have Jermaine Burton, who seemingly looks better just visually. Have you guys seen the interviews with him in the locker room? He doesn't look as tired and distraught and whatever he was going through. I'm trying to be, positive here about this. The guy looks much better and what does that really mean, right? Well, at least means on the field, he seems to be clicking and hitting another level to his game and getting the respect of the quarterback and the offensive coordinators, the receiver room. All of those things go a long way. He doesn't need to be in number 1 or 2. Right? There was a little bit of pressure last year. Like Burton could be the number 2 of the future. That is no longer the case. Now it's Jermaine Burton. Can you be yourself? Can you be who you're supposed to be and make plays when your number is called? And I'm much more confident in that than I was of him becoming a number 2. So if you're saying now like he's getting his head screwed on and he's going to be an effective player in the NFL, his skill set means he can make some big plays for you. And then at that rate, that receiver room is really strong. And I think they like Isaiah Williams too. We only got to see glimpses of him last year, but even in the camp footage we're getting, the mini camp footage, like he's getting in the slot. He looks quick. His releases look quick. Nobody's really pressing him yet. He's the smallest guy of the group, but in the slot, you don't have to worry about that as much anyway. So he can make the team. And we're talking about a bunch of guys that can make the roster. We did Jordan Moore a review on him, the receiver from Duke. Looks like he could make the roster. The receiving core looks really damn good again. And that's no shock. If I was talking to people that weren't Bengals fans, they would say the receiving core is really good, right? Yeah, T and Jamar. But there is so much more than that. They have done well with the depth. They've done well signing Gesicki and then re-signing him this offseason. At the very least, it sounds like the passing offense is at a level it has never been at in June. And that's because Burrow's been hurt. right? They've had offensive line issues. They've had receivers missing time or holding out or holding in, guys getting injured. They've had young guys trying to step into different positions. They have a different tight end every year, whether it's CJ Uzama to Hayden Hurst to Irv Smith Jr. Remember that season? So they actually have continuity at that position. I think Chase Brown is the best receiving back they've had in a long time, since probably Giovanni Bernard, and the things they can do with him are great. Mixon should have been, but he just never turned into that guy. He was a very good receiver. But in terms of running routes and getting open one-on-one, I think Chase Brown could be a whole different guy we haven't seen since maybe James Brooks. So let's see if we use them that way, if the Bengals use them. But those are the positives. And then on the defensive side, I do feel like these young guys are buying in. And how do you quantify that? How do you evaluate that, right? The way they speak, the way you hear how they're coming in early to work on these tackling and ball drills and knocking the ball loose and all these things you saw when Al Golden was doing Notre Dame defense. And I remember putting on stuff and watching, all right, who is this guy? What does Notre Dame do? And it was a lot of attacking the ball, punching the ball out, ripping at the ball as you're spinning and alligator rolling on the ground to get the tackle. You're reaching up and knocking that ball away. Getting that ball back to Joe Burrow in this offense. You don't have to be a great defense. You need to be an opportunistic defense that creates chaos and a good tackling defense. And if you could at least be those things, and it sounds like the guys want to be that, the defensive players that are coming in early to work on these things, because you only get your allotted time to work on it in practices. If they're there early working on this because they're buying in and they believe in that path, and I think that's a good thing. So if we're looking for positives so far in June, we haven't really actually got to camp and put on pads yet. The big questions still remain, and that's where we're going to get to some of these next questions here. Next question is from Bengals Dad. Should the Shemar Stewart situation and some of his comments give us hesitation for his long-term career? I don't think so. I think this is negotiating. It's fighting for what you believe is right. When you believe it's right and you're strong in that conviction, and both sides are here, that's how fights happen. And I don't think it has to mean that his career is going to start off on the wrong foot. I don't think it's clearly it's not on the right foot already, but we're talking about half a step into his career, right? It is very, very early. There's enough time to get this thing in order and climb his way up this depth chart, right? If it carries into camp, my answer may change. If it carries into the season, my answer would definitely change, because I think you would be talking about hurting your rookie season and your overall development. And that's my biggest thing. You may be I think there's two ways to ask this, right? Or answer this. One, is it going to be an issue? Like if he becomes a good player and we got to negotiate a contract again in 3-4 years, is this a sign that this could be tough? Maybe. Or is this a player that you maybe will never fulfill his potential because he's more concerned with all of these other things? Or is it just the agent and his camp fighting for things that are less important than your player's ability to reach that potential? I think there is some of that. So it's hard to answer completely, but as of right now, am I concerned that he's any worse or better or in a worse situation? Not yet. If it gets to camp, I will feel more concerned. If it gets to the season, I will definitely be concerned. He needs these reps. He needs to be on the field. The Bengals need him. They should work together. You both need each other. Get it together. You want to play football, right? You want this player on your team? Figure it out. Next question. This one comes from Monty Beans. Assuming they don't add another offensive lineman in free agency here, what does the starting five look like come week one? Good question. That's one of the major concerns on our mind as we head into training camp. Will this team bring in another free agent? Will they bring in a Brandon Scherff or whoever it may be? I hope so. I don't feel great about the right guard spot. I'll save that for the end. The tackles are set, right? Orlando Brown Jr. at left tackle, Amarius Mims at right tackle. You could potentially have two very good tackles for the first time in a long time. Center, Ted Karras, I think he should still be fine as he gets into the older stages of his career. And then left guard, I feel like it's Dylan Fairchild completely. Like he has to show he's not a complete nut job or terrible player. He has to prove he's not Jackson Carman, and he'll win the left guard spot over Cordell Volson. But at right guard, it's going to come down to Lucas Patrick and Cody Ford, and I don't feel great about that. Lucas Patrick's going to be 33, I want to say, this year. Cody Ford's never been good. He's 28, so he's younger. Maybe there's still potential for him. I'm not hopeful. I like that Cody Ford can play every position and play every position in a pinch. Well, maybe not center, but he can play the other 4 spots in a pinch. That's valuable. That's good. I like that. Lucas Patrick can play any of the interior spots. That's great. Lucas Patrick has had the better highs, no doubt about it. But he's had just as many lows as Cody Ford has had. So, I mean, what if you end up with both guys just having their average season that's just below average? That's not good enough. You know, if you want to go look at average PFF grades throughout their career, uh, Lucas Patrick's like a 55 graded player throughout his career. Cody Ford's about a 49. So is that in for a first round rookie, or not a first round rookie, a first year guard, a rookie like Dylan Fairchild at left guard? That typically is about a 60 for a good player. Like, we're accepting that if we're just using PFF grades. I'm just giving you a ballpark range of what I think is good versus average. A 60 and maybe a 55 if we just take their average. Is that good enough for protecting Joe Burrow? I don't feel it is. I think the Bengals have to make a move. I don't think this is good enough. I think they think it's good enough. Maybe the Hendrickson deal happens, and then maybe Shemar Stewart deal happens, and they're like, you know what, we've got time. Let's see what these other guards are out there doing. Let's see. Let's evaluate them. Maybe Scherf is interested. Because then you'd have a backup interior offensive lineman in Lucas Patrick that can play every spot. You'd have Cody Ford that can be your swing tackle rather than Jalen Rivers, who you just drafted. You want a rookie to be your swing tackle, or you want Cody Ford? I'd probably rather Cody Ford. It's not a great situation. He didn't look good at tackle either, but it's better than nothing. So I think your starters, if I had to pick week 1 who I think is going to win that job then, out of Ford and Patrick, I think Patrick wins it because he's had higher highs than Cody Ford has ever had. So if he has that, and if you can evaluate that in preseason, which maybe you can, maybe they get extended time. But if he plays like he has at times in his NFL career, he did last year, had a very good pass protection season last year, I think he wins that job. Now, if he's not that, then that's when you call and get Brandon Scherf. I would do it anyways, just to be clear. But that's when that scenario may play out for the Bengals, where they have to go do that. And maybe that guy isn't even on the roster right now for us to make that evaluation. But if it did happen, that would be a lot of fun. That would go a long way to fixing this O-line for good. Well, maybe for a year, but you know what I'm saying. Next one up is from Houdane. And he asked, what will Al Golden's biggest impact be on defense? Tackling, coverage, just playing the young guys? I think those are the 3 things we'd like to see be the biggest improvement. I mentioned earlier on was it the first question talking? Yeah, it was. Saying like they may force more turnovers, may knock balls out. They may be a better tackling team because of the drills we've seen so far. Now, again, they don't have pads on, right? Other thing we've noticed so far through mini camps and mandatory stuff, how much, and this is true also from the Notre Dame defense, if you remember that when we did that episode, but we keep seeing Cam Taylor-Britt ending up at safety, Cam Taylor-Britt ending up in the slot, and I don't think he's going to be a slot guy. Maybe he will be. That was one of the questions we have. Right? I wonder if I saved that one. I think I did. I think it's coming up. But the way Al Golden's defense worked in Notre Dame is they would just shift over. Like, if say a guy came into motion, they wouldn't send a corner to follow that guy. They just kind of shift it all over. And now that safety would cover the slot guy. And we saw the interception from Cam Taylor-Britt. He did follow Mike Gesicki all the way across. So is he playing one-on-one at Gesicki? Is he just going to be a tight end cover guy? And then Dax is going to be starting. So I think coverage is one of the things. I think tackling is one of the things. I think playing the young guys is why Al Golden's here. So you're asking which one, or are those the 3? I think those are the things we're looking for. But playing the young guys is probably the biggest long-term impact if we're going that route. Because once you pay Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, I mean, they're paying Mike Gesicki, Orlando Brown, Ted Karras, right? You're paying a lot of money to your offensive side of the ball. The defense has to be cheap. And they're going to pay, it sounds like, if they get to that point of paying Trey Hendrickson. No one else on the defense is making anything. Logan Wilson, decent. Geno Stone, decent. TJ Slayton, decent. BJ Hill, decent money. Nothing crazy. You have to be cheap. You have to get rookie impact. You have to have young players playing to their potential as soon as possible. And it sounds like that's exactly what Al Golden was brought in to do. Bring up the intensity, play the young guys, have coverages be more seamless and communication be more seamless, and make sure everyone's on the same page so they can play fast and fix the tackling. That sounds like a lot of things to fix, but if he can do half of those at least a good rate, then the defense is at least average and this team is in the playoffs. Anything better than that, and this team is competing for a championship. So Al Golden's got a lot to he can make a big name for himself, right? If he does that, if he flips his defense around to that level, that'll be huge for his personal career. Next question from David Arrington. Who takes the next step forward, the biggest step forward based on film and data? I think there's quite a few players. I'm going to rattle off a few before I get to mine. I think Joseph Ossai has a 10-sack season in his career at some point. Maybe it's this year and he makes big money. That would be huge. I think Myles Murphy can only take a step forward here. And year 3, we should see the best version of him. Whatever that may be. I'm not saying he's going to be good. I'm just saying if he can give you 4 sacks, that's much more than he did last year, right? Just in terms of sack output. Chris Jenkins could be much better, should be much better. McKinley Jackson, same thing. I think Dax Hill. I think Cam Taylor-Britt could be much better than he was. Jordan Battle. Geno Stone, I think, could be much better than he was. On the offensive side, I think Marius Mims could take a huge jump. Huge. I think Chase Brown could too. The guy I'm going to go with, though, that I thought has looked really good, his high-end flashes have been high-end. I'm talking number 1 type man cover corner type. And that's DJ Turner. And it's only been for moments. He hit that rookie wall and he was terrible after like week 12. And he had issues even as a rookie, but his speed and his agility and his change of direction and man cover mirroring skills were crazy good coming out of Michigan, and they were good his rookie year. He couldn't find the ball, couldn't knock the ball away. He's got short arms, he's thin. Then year 2 comes around and he's playing, right? And I'm like, there are starting to be some flashes here of high-end play from DJ Turner, and now he's knocking the ball away. I think 11 passes defense last year, and he didn't start every game. That final game against the Chargers, he looked fantastic. I honestly thought he was about to just accelerate from that moment. I thought that was his coming out party. And then I think he broke his collarbone or clavicle in that game. And, obviously it's the last time we've seen him, and he's perfectly healthy now. He's ready to go. Maybe he's a guy that always deals with either hitting a wall late in the season or injuries because he's not the biggest dude, right? But I thought he was much more physical last year. I thought he found the ball better last year. His pacing, his timing, his intensity, everything was much more consistent. I would not be shocked if we come away year 3 and we're like, hey, DJ Turner is a good player. He's a good player for this team. He's a valuable asset, starting good caliber corner for the Bengals in 2025. That would not shock me in the least bit. That's based on data. He had a really good data set last year. It's based on film. I really liked his high-end flashes on film. Otherwise, I would probably say Marius Mims, just because you don't get those freak guys that are that athletic and they don't turn into good players. That would be a shocker for us. Next question from 11th, Straw Hat Pirate. Interesting. Okay, I can't see your full tag there, your normal name. But what does Myles Murphy, Joseph Ossai, and Chris Jenkins have to do in order to take that next step as pass rushers? Why aren't they the guys that I picked? Well, we need to see it more. I'm going to start first with Chris Jenkins. We're talking about a guy that's 295, 300 pounds, a decent athlete, not an elite athlete, but maybe at times above average. He's got a good burst. I like his agility. We see a spin move every once in a while that looks really good. I think for him, it's realizing what you are, that you don't have a dominant athletic trait. You're going to have to outwork guys for this stuff. You're going to have a great get off. You're going to have to play with great leverage. Your moves are going to have to be excellent for you to become a top end player. Now we just need him to take a step forward. Well, I think that a lot of that comes with timing and just development in year 2, getting a little bit stronger into year 2, staying healthy too. He dealt with injuries his rookie year. So there is reason why just the natural progression, he'll be better in year 2. But if you really want to take that next step, he's going to have to become a master of his craft. For Joseph Ossai, he has put on weight. He's had injuries also. So I think he doesn't look as quick as he used to. When he came out, remember, he was a former linebacker that was like a speed edge rusher that needed to learn moves. I think he's gotten pretty far with his moves, and I think he is I wouldn't say mastered. He's not Trey Hendrickson in the move department, but he's got solid moves to go to. And he can win with a long arm, a bull rush. We've seen him win on a spin, rip, arm over, swim moves. All of that has worked in Joseph Ossai's past. He's had random moments of flashes of high end plays. It's consistency for him. I think it's sometimes awareness because this is a guy that plays really hard, plays hard against the run, runs everything down that he can. His motor is nonstop. It's more consistency. He can get wrapped up at times, get swallowed, and then big linemen take care of him and wash him out. And the next thing you know, it looks like you got 10 guys on the field. So, if you're tired, get out of there. If we got a full rotation, great. If we could, maybe he's going to kick inside him more than likely. I don't think he's as good inside, but he's had some moments. That Jets game in 2022 or 23, fantastic game. I can't remember what year that was. I think it was 22. I think it was. But he and Hendrickson, Trey Hendrickson and Joseph Ossai, great in that game. I think Ossai mostly is staying healthy, being fresh, and consistency. Maybe that comes with consistent snaps, right? He was really good at the end of the year because he played a lot. Maybe that's the key, is you give him the snaps and he responds to it. For Myles Murphy, it's a little bit different. Murphy, I said, I was talking with his brother, Max Murphy. This was brought up recently when he showed up to camp and he looked really good, in good shape. And someone said, hey, remember you said this to Max Murphy? Shout out to Max. It seems like a good follow, good dude. But I said, if I was Myles, I would try to get into my best shape as humanly possible next year. I want to start, right? I want to start for the 2025 Bengals. And I want to go to the best pass rush specialist I could possibly get to. He's done the healthy part. He's saying how much better shape he's in. He looks bigger, leaner, stronger, all over. So that's great. The pass rush part is where he's always lacked. His moves lack intensity. They lack precision. They lack the ability to go one after the next and chain them together. The counter move, right? He's still only relying on that long arm, but he needs so much more. And you can see it when you watch film. Every time you watch film, you're begging him to string moves together. You're begging him to get the timing right, to knock these hands away with precision and accuracy that's required of a top end pass rusher. He's posted a lot of clips of himself working really hard this offseason. So maybe we'll see that. Maybe he hits the ground running. You're like, there's Myles Murphy. All that work you put in this offseason has worked out for you. And that's how he takes another step. So again, I'm thinking we're like, because Chris Jenkins had 3 sacks last year. Would we have 6.5 or 7 out of Ossai? Can we get to 10 out of Ossai? Can we get to 5 out of Chris Jenkins? And can we get to 4 or 5 out of Myles Murphy? That's a long way in going where this team needs to go to get this pass rush doing what it needs to do to support Trey Hendrickson and get this defense into championship level. And the final question coming from Sports with a Z, Nahome with a bunch of numbers. Who do we think will be the top 3 corners on this team, the 3 starters? Mentioning Josh Newton, let's not forget him, Dax Hill, versatility there, and Cam Taylor-Britt, DJ Turner. Mike Hilton's still out there as a free agent. I wonder if we could see that come again. I don't think so. But it is interesting that he's still out there as of now, as of recording. I still think it'll be Dax and Cam Taylor-Britt with DJ Turner. Now, who goes into the slot there? So far, we've seen Josh Newton playing in the slot. We've seen Cam Taylor-Britt playing in the slot and covering tight ends. Dax Hill, when he talked the other day to the media, said he should be cleared for camp, but was kind of unsure about his role. Is it going to be only boundary? Is it going to be slot? Is it going to be safety? Is it going to be a covered tight end kind of guy until he rebounds? Or maybe they'll go slow with him until he's fully back. Because first year returning from a knee injury typically isn't your best season anyway. So maybe we shouldn't be counting on Dax to perform at that high end level that he flashed for a few games before going down. I think Dax is more likely a Leon Hall role if he gets to playing 100% of the snaps again, which is boundary corner in your base defense. Nickel, he slides inside and covers your slot receiver or your tight end. And that's when you bring in DJ Turner to play the other outside spot or Cam Taylor-Britt to come in. Where does that leave Josh Newton? I think Newton is going to play. I think the Bengals already, I don't think we have a third safety that we have to worry about. So we're talking about like quarter defenses and dime plus defenses. I think we're talking 4 corners again. And that's where Newton gets on the field. And maybe they want Cam Taylor-Britt to cover tight ends like we've seen him covering Gesicki in these minicamp clips. Maybe they want Dax Hill to cover tight ends again. Well, then Newton's out on the field. Maybe he's in the slot. DJ Turner's on the boundary. I think you can find enough snaps for all four guys. Plus, going back a long time now, let's just say the Zach Taylor era, the cornerback 4 has been forced into a starting role at some point in each and every season, whether it's famously Eli Apple or Josh Newton last year. It happens every single year. DJ Turner the year before that wasn't the top 3 guy. He ends up playing a ton of starter snaps. Joby Wuzie goes down. These guys get hurt, right? And you have to have your 4th corner play. DJ Turner goes down. Dax Hill goes down last year. I think they have a good situation there. I think the corner room is young enough, athletic enough, talented enough, and deep enough to not really have to worry about it. They need to be healthy. They need to be playing at their best potential. But if I were to still guess, I'm thinking Cam Taylor-Britt, Dax Hill, and DJ Turner are your starters. I still think those are your 3 best guys, 3 upside guys. They love Josh Newton, though, and they love his approach. They love his attitude. And that guy's a future captain of a team, right? Of a defense, if he's a starter. But is he your best player? Are these other 3 guys that you drafted and spent premium picks on potentially better? Of course they are. Everyone wants the speed and coverability and man coverability, and I think that's where those guys come in. We have seen Newton play in the slot. We have seen Newton starting because Dax Hill is out. It will be very interesting, though. I wouldn't be shocked if, because they love Newton so much, they have Dax battle Cam Taylor-Britt or Dax and DJ Turner battle out a spot. Whatever it may be. I do think it's going to be an interesting battle to watch, a fun battle to watch, and a representation of very different the way I talk about offensive line, right? Where it's like, man, Cody Ford, Lucas Patrick battling for a spot. Who's going to win that? We don't feel great about it, right? I feel completely different. Like if Cam Taylor-Britt wins a job, that's a good sign. That's a good thing. I don't see anyone could be mad if a guy like that who has been inconsistent, who needs the fire under him, wins. I'm talking about wins a job with other guys that are competing against him, other premium picks. That's a good sign for the defense. When Cam Taylor-Britt is good, he's damn good, and the defense is better for it. If Dax Hill wins a job, man, great. First-round pick that is playing at that potential. If DJ Turner comes and beats them both, fantastic. I just want it to be a real competition. And if Josh Newton beats out 3 premium picks and gets a job, a starting job, good for Josh Newton, good for the defense. It means he's probably a good player. This is a good situation to have. These are guys that are talented and worthy of NFL starting spots if they play well. Get them in a competition, see who comes out the other end. That's the kind of Bengals football I want. And we've got a ton more questions. I will probably keep going with questions into Friday's episode of Bengals on the Brain, presented by First Star Logistics. Until then, hooday.
Bengals fans, tired of the same old post-game chatter? Want real insight beyond the scoreboard? Then you need Bengals on the Brain with Joe Goodberry, presented by First Star Logistics. Joe Goodberry isn't just a fan, he's a die-hard Bengals football analyst. Every week, Joe dives deep into the Bengals game film, breaking down the plays that mattered, revealing hidden strategies, and uncovering the true impact of individual performances. Get ready for post-game analysis like you've never heard before, player evaluations that go beyond the stats, and the most in-depth Bengals draft coverage on the internet. Don't just watch the Bengals, understand the Bengals. Subscribe to Bengals on the Brain with Joe Goodberry on the First Star Media Group's YouTube channel. Get smart, get obsessed, get Bengals on the Brain.